Pledge?
How about that?
Yeah, so. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, we got a little adjustment to do on that clock.
Yeah. Clock is wrong, we can sit something, yeah?
It's on the floor.
That's what I'm here for. So, everybody's had a chance to read the minutes from March 2nd? Can we
So
get a
moved.
motion? Okay, second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried. Anybody opposed? Or, so carried, okay. Public comment? Oh, no. Oh, Paul?
Sorry.
Thought I could squeeze it in, I wasn't fast enough.
He's signing.
Good for you. Sign up.
We'll give you.
No, go, sorry.
I actually like this space.
Yeah, you're not on the leg. Go get your little throne, you'll be all set.
If you do, then I won't have to, so sure, come on up. Oh, okay. That would be great. It's off my list then.
Karen McComb for the Lake Pleasant Library. This morning, Betsy and I and Sherry met and talked about what to do with the situation at the library with the present situation, and we came up with a plan that Don Purdy was in favor of and seemed to be comfortable with. And we decided, unlike some libraries which have decided to close, to keep our library open with regular hours and take precautionary measures which would involve hand sanitizer when you come in, hand sanitizer when you leave. As soon as we can get hand sanitizer, that will come into play. But aside from that, the computers, which seem to be the most relevant part of all of this because of the fact that the school children are now home, not everyone here has access to a computer or to internet service, so they utilize the computers at the library. We have 5 public computers. We will be using 3 of them, leaving 2, the 2 that are not used in between the 3 that are being used. So that will give distance in between the carols in which the people sit. The keys will be wiped down by the staff after the person uses the computer. The other factor would be any books that are taken out or items such as movies, DVDs, that type of a thing, will not be accepted for return until May 1st. So if you want to stock up on your reading pleasure or your movie watching, you can get it now, fines will be waived, and you will have those items until May 1st because we won't take them back before then. We also will not be receiving any items from any outside libraries. So any interlibrary loan items will not be received. If you go online and you request an item, you will not be receiving it in this library. So we figure with those precautionary measures, unless the situation changes in some way, shape, or manner, that is how we will be operating. Anybody have any questions?
I speak
Great.
only for myself. I applaud this.
We tried to keep it open as long as possible because I think it's in this demographic area, it's a necessity,
No question.
not only for the students, but for its income tax time as well. And we've had many patrons coming in using the computers to do their taxes. So we just need to offer them that service.
Just one thing, are the people that are wiping stuff down, given the correct instruction on how to do it? Like not trying to dry them off, letting it evaporate?
I will check with Sherry on that because we didn't discuss that, but I will mention that to Sherry that she knows the correct protocol. It's she and Roxy and then Tanisha's here for a few hours as
Yeah.
well. But thank you for mentioning that because I will go over that with Sherry. Yes, okay. Anybody else have any questions on that?
Thank you.
No?
Yeah, I was reading.
I just want to add that kudos to you and Sherry because this morning I wasn't in the office 10 minutes and my phone rang and it was Karen
Yeah,
and
and
Sherry was at the
Sherry
door, so instead of
Timing
trying to
was-
have a meeting, yeah, we
Timing
just did
was
like a
perfect.
conference call kind of thing and we discussed everything and we thought that this was the best measures to take for the library. So
Okay.
you guys are really on the ball, you did a great job.
Good,
Yes,
thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Cooperation. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Krista, something.
I'm sorry,
Well,
Chris.
I was just gonna ask if
Karen?
you'd considered disposable gloves for the computer users.
I don't think
Because-
that gloves are recommended because they actually don't, they can actually spread organisms more so than contain them.
Well, what I read about sanitizing surfaces is the liquid has to sit on the surface for a period of time in order
Depends
to
on-
work.
It depends on.
I'm sorry,
So
just-
you can't just
Right.
wipe the board with a Clorox cleanup, it's not
It,
gonna work.
No, actually, it will work.
Really?
So, if I can point to my scientific background.
Oh, good.
Hydrogen peroxide-based cleaners are the most effective cleaners, where you have it less than a minute in contact. So if you have anything like a Clorox wipe, bleach, one of its active ingredients is hydrogen peroxide. So a wipe with that, let it go for a minute, and that would kill it.
Okay, that's good to know, because I thought they were just bleach.
No.
Dry naturally, right?
Right, so, and then it has another active ingredient, chlorate, hydrochlorate, which is also less than a minute to put on. So Clorox is actually pretty good, but all hydrogen peroxide based cleaners. And I can send a note, there's a recent study in a scientific literature as far as how long the COVID virus stays on different surfaces, and then what types of cleaners you can use and how long you need to let them wait, which
That
might
would be
a
good
nice
That would be a
to
good
get the
idea.
word
Yeah,
out on
that's
that.
So I'll
yeah.
provide that.
Good.
May I jump into my next comment? We just had word from Governor Cuomo's office that village elections are postponed.
Oh,
Really?
Yes, they are postponed from Wednesday to April 28th. So just want to get that out to as many people as possible. And that just came in. I just called over to NICOM this afternoon. Yep, April 28th.
okay, thank you.
So we called NICOM this afternoon. Nope, it's too late. It'll be fine, it'll go, and we just got word, so.
So the board stays seated as the board is
It,
presently, is that?
It
Terms
appears,
just extended, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
didn't matter in the way that the ballots were cast?
excuse me?
It didn't matter which way the ballots were cast?
Nope. It's
Okay, because I know.
all for
with
one,
voting-
one for all,
Okay,
yeah, by executive decree.
because some of them use voting machines, and I know those.
Yeah, right.
No, that is correct. There was a concern with scanning votes when I spoke to NICOM today, that they said that because of the primaries going on, that they probably would not be available until the summer sometime. So that's why there was some reluctance. So I don't know what has changed so that they can do it by April 28th and still not interfere with any of the primaries that are going on.
Interesting, thank you, thank you. Anyone else? Samantha?
Thank you.
It's really not a comment, or it's more of a question. Basically, with what is going on, where exactly you want me to go. Like, because with the kids going out, I know a lot of my friends are having issues with babysitting and stuff. So we've gotten a couple of the kids together to be able to do some of the school stuff. I know a few of the homeschool kids, the moms are looking to see if they can help out and stuff like that, and I don't know exactly how you want me to proceed with some of the stuff that I had scheduled in the next coming months.
Are you talking about like programs?
Yeah, like stuff that we were gonna do with the kids, like, I mean, is there anything that you would allow me to try to do to help some of these kids while we're out? Cause I know there are a lot of kids.
'Cause some of the
like you
parents
said,
are gonna
some of
be
the parents
working
Are
and-
working,
Yeah.
some of the parents don't have
So you're
Wi-Fi.
not talking about the programs for summer, you're talking about something that you
Additional.
I'm really, like, I was gonna start, like, planning the trips and getting dates set and stuff, but I'm gonna wait a little while just to see, because I was just reading
That's
something just before I texted you to make sure there was still a meeting, that there's a possibility that they're going to have things shut down until July.
Well, what things were you planning in the next 2
So
months?
I mean, we had, a few little, group things we were gonna do, there was a couple that I had to verify that the dates were still open with Sherry. We were going to be doing our fundraising, our taco bar next month, which I can pull that a little bit farther, because, the village decided to go with the camp store for food and beverage for the 4th of July stuff, so I wasn't able to do that.
Can you home deliver the tacos? Well, I'm just
No,
saying, you know,
the Girl Scouts just put out their deliveries for 4 weeks. We will not get stuff until the end of April.
they postponed it for 4 weeks, yeah. See, the reason I ask
I know I'm gonna
is
have, like, a lot of
today,
people,
the
like-
recommendation today is no gatherings of more than 10 people.
Yeah.
Right,
So if you have a program for the children, 10 people.
and they're saying, play dates, should,
Well, that's what
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
trying to figure out, like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
yeah.
like, I had little things, I don't
count.
No.
know how, yeah, no, I don't know how far to go, because some of the kids are gonna, I don't want anybody to fall behind either with a few of the things we were gonna do, but I didn't know
I
what
think
your
it's a-
recommendations were,
I think it's a
especially with
wise
that.
idea if you do hold off.
yeah.
Let's wait and see what happens in like the next 2 or 3 weeks, you know, how things are happening here in our community, how, all around, really. I don't think that we should just jump into, you know, trying to plan something to get all the kids together. I kind of think you need to kind of
Right.
stall
think
it
that's
out. I don't
best,
think it's a
yeah.
wise
Like I said, with the, it
I mean,
makes
they
me feel a
closed
lot
school for
better
that
that the
reason.
libraries can save us, so there is
Yes.
that opportunity, but like I said, I was worried about a lot of it because, I have that Remind app, and the kindergarten teacher was sending me this website, this, do this and do that. A lot of these kids aren't gonna be able to do it,
Yeah.
so that's what I was
Well,
worried about.
Hopefully they're
That's the problem, because it's all over the place. And the purpose of closing the school is to separate the kids,
Right.
to slow down any advance of the
Yeah, because
virus.
a lot of them go to the different
So
schools.
we
too.
can't really, as a town, do programs to get the kids back together.
Right.
It just wouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's,
It would be
Counterintuitive.
defeating the
there may
purpose
be
of what
some
they've
small
done.
informal things that others or mothers or
Yeah.
yourself as a private citizen can do, but the numbers pretty much prohibit you from, generating a kid's day somewhere because it.
Well, like you said, I didn't know like
That's
with the schedule, like you said, because it was 10 or less, like if we could figure out like what age group needed help, then like try to get them the help, that's what I was trying to figure out what to do, because I don't know what to do, because if kids fall behind too, or you have parents that don't have anywhere. So, I know that's a lot of trouble right now.
Are you aware of the Hamilton County coronavirus page that our county historian started?
No.
Okay, it's Hamilton County coronavirus. And she has asked on there for people who are able to volunteer to deliver meals, to do grocery shopping for people and leave it on their steps and stuff like that. That might be a good place to refer mothers who need childcare to.
Okay.
Right.
Janet Fabiano posted that, and she's a former educator, I don't know if you know her, but she posted that she's willing to do childcare for parents that are in a bind. So there are people that are willing to help, but we all need to get onto the same page because the nursing service has a page, the sheriff's office has a page, it's
Well, the
just,
sheriff's office and the nursing are working together
yes.
on that.
Yeah.
And what I was going to suggest is it might be a smart idea to have parents contact the nursing agency in Indian Lake, Erica. And they're doing a great job up there. They're very organized, they're very prepared. They've been preparing for this for a month. And the last 2 weeks, they've been on it, I mean, every single day, keeping everybody up to date on what's going on. So I think if you call them,
Okay.
they're taking a list of volunteers, they're working all that out, and they should be able to help better with that, as well as what Chris said, but this way, they know what's going on. They know our needs, they're delivering food, they're shopping, they're going and getting prescriptions and taking them to wherever need to be. Our seniors, whatever, they're trying to accommodate everybody, and volunteers in the communities are all pulling together and helping out with that, so give them a call.
As much as possible, one-on-one sort of help.
Right.
Yeah.
Is what you're hearing.
Alright,
Okay?
like I said, I'll hold off on summer stuff.
I'll let you go on a little bit more.
That's another thing, I don't know what to do from here.
Yeah.
I appreciate your being willing to step in and help if it were
Absolutely.
able,
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's a wonderful idea and I admire your energy.
I gotta do it while I have it.
There you go. Let me tell you, it goes quick.
So Jeanette Barrett, concerned citizen. Just letting folks know if there are any immediate needs for food, and the food pantry, North Country Bible Fellowship would be willing in an emergency situation to open that up for any extra people in the present crisis. So they can call the office, or they can.
And you do take donations of toilet paper, yes?
Yes, we do, and
I
we
thought
promise
so.
not to build castles out of it either. But yes, and all donations we would take as well
Okay.
to share that.
That's good to know. Okay. Anybody else for public comment? No? Okay, then we'll move on to Randy Highway.
Alrighty. First things, the trails are not technically closed, but we are no longer grooming. Pleasant Riders has pulled their groomer also. At this point in time, the loggers are out of Perkins Clearing, but the roads are turning to mud as we speak. The gate is not locked, it's shut. There's 1 or 2 cars still in there. I was told tonight, so the sheriff's department is letting them know, but there was a note on the windows that we'll be back the 16th, we're hiking. So they're waiting for them to come out of the woods so they can get out. And then Thursday morning, I will be locking the gate at Mason Lake End. So no traffic will be going in and out of there. Groomers are all back at the shop now. They're in relatively great shape. Quote unquote limited use this year. The hours are way down from what they normally are. But we resurrected about 5 weeks of riding. As far as the status for what we did. The next thing I have is a letter from Betsy, an email that Betsy gave me about the 284, which I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but it's a form that I'm supposed to fill out prior to use of monies in the budget for the roads. I've been holding off as directed by some of my highway superintendent people because of the storm money. If I sign up and say I'm going to spend X dollars on these roads and we don't have X dollars in the budget, then we have to do this whole fund balance transfer thing, so on and so forth. It gets a little technical of where I'm coming up with this money that I'm asking you guys to say go ahead with. I've been asking what I should do, and the only answer I got is the money that was budgeted in the budget, go ahead and fill out the 284 for that. This was last Thursday at my highway superintendent's meeting. And anything from that, you can always amend the 284 after that.
Good.
So I will be getting that to you at the next meeting, and we're going to have to amend it once I file it, this summer when I figure out exactly how much money I'm spending on each road. Because right now, quite frankly, I have no clue until FEMA comes in and approves or disapproves anything like that. So it's hard for me to say where I'm spending this money, except for a very broad town roads.
And that's because FEMA has to go through each one of your projects and walk it and physically and visually
And
see
we
everything.
have over 60 projects or so.
Yeah.
So,
This
And
is
that doesn't have to be done until just before you start road work, right?
correct. The 284 has to be agreed upon by you guys before I can spend the money. So realistically, we're not going to get a bill from any of this until June, I would say,
Oh,
easily.
the earliest, yeah.
Yeah, at the earliest, so
Is
we
this-
still have time.
Is this CHIPS?
No, it's any money spent that's
Budgeted
budgeted for highway,
improvements, repair.
road
Really?
repairs.
It's the annual contract between him and the
Right,
board.
I did one last year, we technically should be doing one every year, so on and so forth.
Can't be.
The last, I think, maybe 2 years I've done one now, but it's a very generic form, but it holds us to where we can spend the money. And the broader I make this form filled out, the easier it is for us to spend the money.
I don't remember this
So I
from
can't take-
past years.
I can't take the credit for this. Chris sent it to me today and I'm reading it and I'm like, Randy hasn't mentioned that, I wonder. So I asked him and he said, oh yeah, I know all about it, so
Oh, yeah,
that's.
it's a big topic.
I can't
for
take the credit.
Discussions
It's just-
because of all the money that has to be spent.
Right.
None of the towns have the money to spend.
Yeah.
So where do where do you say we're taking this money from? You know, I'm supposed to say, this line is going towards this and that. I can't do that at this point.
Right, but doing the agreement can be pushed off. It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be done
Correct.
now, it doesn't need to be done in April.
No.
More in the construction season.
Well,
Yeah.
Right.
I just wanted to bring it to Betsy's attention, because I know it's something that's easily forgotten every year.
Right.
That was the only reason I brought it up.
Alright, which is, I mean, it's, normally is easily forgotten, but it seems to be a very hot topic in our highway money.
Well, that's the thing, with federal money involved, who knows what they would say if we failed to execute one.
Yeah, exactly, they're looking for every loophole they can find.
Exactly.
Sure, and, you know, they'll say, right, so, oh, well, you were gonna fix that anyway. So how much of this is sequestered to storm damage, how much of this was gonna be general maintenance? And this is the taffy pull that goes on with pretty much any FEMA, negotiation.
And it's, yeah, when it's state money, it's one thing, when it's FEMA money, they get many people to chase these little loopholes. So that's the 284. We had, the next subject is, it's been another month now, since, for our deadline for the, highway mechanic. We've received one more application, and not to say that they're not qualified, but underqualified. The person did not have a CDL and did not have what I can see as any legitimate diesel experience. They worked on car diesels and so on and so forth. So I'm back to the board. What do we want to, do we want to continue the way we are, or just the Facebook and our
But the
webpage
problem
or
is the salary,
right,
the starting level, that's the problem.
correct.
And,
I believe that, but that's.
well, I think it's
can't
become
develop.
pretty obvious due
Yeah.
to remarks on Facebook in response to the ad being put up on there. I mean, they're just like
Oh,
laughing
I-
us out of the room, you know?
Okay, I don't see those, so.
No, I don't either.
No,
Well, I'm just saying, I've become aware that the problem is the salary because of that. The feedback is good.
Right, if you read what Chris is saying, it's true, they're scoffing at that, you knew that going in.
Right,
And I think,
We all knew that.
we try very oftentimes to, when an experienced, long-time vested employee who's built up their pay, when we're going for someone new, we automatically try to slide it back in order to leave that room for that. We may not be able to do that.
right.
I mean,
I think it's pretty obvious we won't be able to do it.
right,
So that brings us down to
no more
what do we do
ads.
about it?
Well,
Maybe it's time for the budget committee to sit down and talk
yeah.
and figure out what we can work out of the
If you
budget.
have to, if you've got, you can't be without this position for a
Exactly, and
whole
we need
year.
to get them following Malcolm around as soon as possible.
We know
Yeah.
what's budgeted for, and if we have to spend in addition to that, that's what fund balance sometimes has to be for.
Way down.
That's just the nature of these things.
Yeah.
It was probably Pollyanna to have budgeted for a entry-level diesel mechanic, experienced
Yeah.
diesel mechanic. You get somebody who's worked on their, you know, their uncle's,
Didn't the ad say senior diesel mechanic?
Yes, because
Yeah,
we budgeted for
And-
6 months worth of entry-level senior mechanic.
right.
That's what I put in the budget. Or, yeah, 6
Yeah,
months.
so I'm not throwing any stones, just it may have been looking back at it and seeing what the market is calling for and the competition you've got for these folks.
I had one, because I've been asked numerous times to ask the current staff if they wanted to do something and move up because they know our equipment and so on and so forth.
Sure.
And quite frankly, I've been laughed out of the shop because one of the most senior persons there would only get a $2 an hour raise for that. And the comment was, I couldn't put the clothes on my back that I would destroy in the shop, you know, doing that job. For the other $160
For,
a pay period.
for my edification, Malcolm or that position, does that oftentimes, run overtime, or is that more?
His overtime
Static.
comes from plowing,
Yes, but not from
Also-
wrench turning.
wrenching on weekends on the groomers,
Yeah, okay,
there's some there,
right.
but not oodles.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
more so he's on, because of his, he's on the plowing
Right, he's
end
on
of it.
the town.
Which, depending on who we end up with, you know, number one is not going to be in the plow's driver's seat, it's gonna be at wing tending,
Right,
because
the wing, sure.
they're be new and not even know where the roads are, never mind what not to hit and hit. So, yeah, there would still be some overtime, but depending on
Limited.
how we shuffle people around for this position, I can't guarantee a lot.
Right, but though,
So what do you think is a fair, I know you and I have talked about this, taking out the taxes and all, they're bringing home like
$400.
$99 an hour less,
Yeah,
less than?
I can't remember what the hours,
Yeah.
but it's not a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't.
When you take out the insurance,
And
take out the
taxes.
taxes, retirement, everything else out of it,
Yeah,
I mean, that $17 an hour is cut down pretty fast.
yeah.
When they're starting minimum wage at 15 and 13 or whatever now.
yeah, so we're gonna have to be at 20 or better as a
So,
start.
I mean, I don't know what DOT's been advertising, but they're not getting a lot of success either.
No, huh?
No, because the
I think
signs
we're
don't
gonna
seem
have
be
to
going
double
down,
the starting salary.
so,
And then we might get an experienced diesel mechanic that wants to live up here,
right,
because
That's the
even
other
doubling it is
problem.
not much money.
no. So, and not if someone has to move up here. I mean,
Um,
Should be talking about
Yeah.
a budget committee meeting.
I kinda think that the budget committee should get together and try and work on this and.
Well, assuming that happens and a much better number is put up, do we need to act tonight to advertise it, or can they just go ahead and do it? I mean, I think we need
I
to
would move
expedite
that
this.
whatever the budget committee suggests, we
I would second it.
go with
Committee is
it
gonna go
and
with
get
it.
the ads out there as soon as possible.
I would
And
second
Debbie,
that.
is there money in the advertising budget for it?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, okay,
Second.
so Neil seconded, okay, any further discussion on it? Okay, all in favor? Okay, any
Randy,
opposed?
the budget committee will need how you figured, because it's all clumped into general repairs.
Well, can we get you to, you can sit in on the committee
Definitely.
meeting, you're a
I know what
department
it
head.
is.
You can do that, so we'll plan it.
You are lucky.
Buildings?
Buildings, I mean, besides we're waiting on our sanitary hand cleaners and such that we ordered. Trying to keep everything as clean as possible.
Yeah.
It's, knock on wood, hopefully not gonna be this far north.
We ordered a case and a half,
To
Don
be
Purdy.
naive is,
Don Purdy talked to the state again this morning, quite a few times, trying to push to get it here. But unfortunately, as fast as they're bottling it, it's going south because it's so much worse down there. But they're gonna try to put a rush on it. I ordered a case and a half because I also figured maybe you guys wanted some for Village Hall. Anybody comes to Town Hall, no matter what door you walk in, you have to use hand sanitizer, or we're gonna spray you with a can of Lysol. Because they're at every desk. Yeah, Nancy?
Are they coming from the prisons? Is that where he's getting them?
I believe it is. And we had a choice of 5-gallon buckets, 1-gallon buckets, or 72, I think it was 16-ounce bottles per case.
Kinda makes you wonder what'll be in it.
Prison potpourri.
I don't think I'll be the first.
So we bring our own containers to get some for the village?
Yeah, I ordered a case and a half to give you guys.
Okay,
of the
perfect.
small ones, so it's got like 100 and some bottles.
Come with
Yeah,
a dipper,
so the,
come with a dipper.
so
Thank you.
I didn't wanna cut you out.
No, that's, I mean,
Nothing else
aside for that,
Jeanette?
buildings are buildings.
That's
As
it.
much as-
I stocked up a hydrogen peroxide and 90% alcohol. If the hydrogen peroxide is put in a spray bottle, can that be sprayed instead of waiting for hand sanitizer?
Yes.
Where
Okay,
did you find
It may be a lot
90%
easier.
alcohol?
Walmart,
Really?
yeah, they had absolutely no hand sanitizer left, but they had
Speculative
pretty
spirits.
good supply of,
You can also, Chris, you can also take 20
25% aloe vera and 75% rubbing alcohol, and make a hand sanitizer mix that way. If you can find rubbing alcohol and aloe
If you
vera.
can find aloe vera.
75%.
Well, I have some in my sunburn kit.
Randy, as much
I've
as
got a bunch of
I
bottles of
hate to
that.
quote him,
Big
on his
bottles.
TV time, he's had plenty, but I could have sworn I also saw it today from the governor's, latest edict about half manpower in municipal, have you seen that?
No, I haven't.
All right, well, then you wait until you hear something from down your normal channels, but
It has been
Upward is
discussed.
one
I was,
person.
he
Well,
he
that's
said it
gonna open
might as
up a
well-
whole
we might as well
world of
talk
stuff
about
then.
it has been discussed, county level, and I wanted to talk to you earlier at town hall, but we didn't get to talk just before we got here, so, we need to talk tomorrow. But right now, it's on a voluntary basis. They don't know how the state is going to pay for this, where it's actually gonna come out of, so we're not gonna know. We're doing another conference call tomorrow morning at 9, and we're hoping that Bill Farber will have more answers to that. But what they're suggesting is like, some of the offices, like, someone could take their computer and work from home. The county nursing, what they're doing is they have one nurse down and working out of Wells. They have another one working, I think, is it Lake Pleasant or somewhere else, Paul, do you
One
know?
Town hall, one,
Town
I'm
hall.
not supposed to know this, but,
Oh,
one at town hall, but, you know, one down in Wells.
So they're trying to, so that all the nursing staff is not up there, so that they're not all together, they're trying to break up the staffs, and I kind of think they were discussing, because our motor vehicle department today was just overwhelmed with lines, because all the other motor vehicle departments are closed, so I don't know, they're gonna make a decision on tomorrow on what they're gonna do with that. They may be doing motor vehicle by appointment only and necessity. There's just so much up in the air right now. They may have like a skeleton crew at motor vehicle and not have all 4 girls in that office at the same time. They may have different days, different girls. Everything is up in the air. They don't want everybody to panic. We're just trying to have a plan set. So we just have to take one day at a time, and we'll know more tomorrow on this employee thing, how we can work this. But as Nancy said, if the board had no problem, she could take the computer that she's using home, and she could work on stuff at home, and that would be one less in the front offices, which could be a help as well. So these are all things that, you know, it's workable. We can make it work, you know, we all have to look out for each other and try to protect each other. So, again, I really believe our leaders at county and our nursing staff up in Indian Lake are doing a fabulous job. They are on top of it. Sometimes we'll get 2 or 3 emails a day as a supervisor, and Jeanette, I think you're gonna start being in on the phone conversations tomorrow.
The phone calls, I don't necessarily get all the emails.
Okay, but we're trying to keep everybody informed, but we don't want people to panic. The state of emergency is only put there just so that we're ready in case we need it, it's in place. That's the only reason they did that. I think it was Saturday evening. So at this point, I think we just kind of have to sit back and wait and see day by day what it's gonna be. You know, we can't make any decisions till we really know what's gonna happen. So that's the story on
Tomorrow's
that.
gonna snow.
You guys snow tomorrow? Okay.
I think highway department's a little different than office personnel.
Okay,
So
so,
let me know why one person, not the other.
You bring the plowing home with it.
okay.
We'll drive them all home and just leave your house, get the truck, and bring the whole back.
Somebody can bring the wood chipper home.
Right.
There you go.
Okay, so let's get on to old business now. The seniors contract has been signed, it's all done. That's behind us till next year. The BTI program, Lime Timber this year asked for proof of liability insurance. Took us a couple of extra days to figure out exactly what they wanted, but that's all set and done, and they will be starting, administering the BTI, by the end of March, the end of the month, in the next two weeks, 5 figures. The AUD extension, we did receive our extension, and it's for 60 days, it's due no later than May 1st. But we are hoping to have that done in the next couple of weeks and get it in. BST, which is the firm that we hired to do our audit, town audit, we had decided in December. Paula Goetz had emailed us and asked us to call him. so that we could discuss the agreement, just because old supervisor out, new supervisor in, to make sure we're all on the same page. The only concern is, number one, until the AUD is complete, we cannot do the audit. And number two, now that Kathy's not gonna be in the office and we don't know how long she's going to be out, they actually need someone there for 3 to 4 weeks that's gonna be able to be pulling out all paperwork, everything they need throughout the day. So, I guess I'm asking the board for permission, to put that on the back burner for now, till we know when Kathy's gonna get back.
I think it's wise.
And yeah, I mean, because Debbie, I don't have the time, Debbie doesn't have the time, and there's just too much going on in the office, and now with this coronavirus, there's just way too much. I guess I probably should get a motion to put that on the back burner for a while,
I'll move.
and a second
Yeah, I second that, for now,
on the back
I mean,
burner.
the AUD has a clock on it.
Right.
The audit is something that was done voluntarily by the previous board, got it rolling, and I think it's a great idea.
It is a great idea.
But it can wait.
But yeah, and I mean, this isn't something that we're gonna wait till next year, it will be done this year, but we just need to get all our ducks in a row and get everything put together. Right now, our office has been kind of crippled, when this happened to Kathy, because we had to be able to get into computer systems, and we had a little glitch there. We had to wait a couple of days till we could get the passwords from Kathy, or where they were in the office, to take care of that. So that's another thing that we will be working on. Our IT fella did have most every department head's information on a file. He sent to us, but unfortunately Kathy's was not on there, which that's the one we needed. So it happened. This is something that's going to be corrected, and we have had discussions, and I think, Chris, we've all discussed this. We need to have it, and it needs to be in a safe place in the vault for every single one of us, because anything can happen at any time, and we need to be able to function. We need to continue moving along.
And
So
we can't let somebody say, no, I'm not gonna give it to you.
it has to be done.
Exactly.
Those days are gone. It's gotta stop, and we've gotta be professional here, and we have to look out for what's best for our town.
Yeah, we
So-
had said that what we thought we'd do was we'd put it in a binder, everybody's passwords, put it in a binder, lock it in the fireproof vault, and then the vault gets locked.
Right.
So it's just put
Right.
file cabinet into the vault.
So it's safe, it's secure. And someone had suggested if people don't wanna give up their passwords, put them in a sealed envelope and they'll go in that vault thing, and if we never need it, fine, if we need it, they're there.
There's no reason
so-
why
No.
they shouldn't be.
No.
No,
There really is. I mean, we're talking about town employees using town IT equipment. There is really, it almost sounds sketchy to even not share it.
absolutely, absolutely. So that's where we've kind of been for the past week. We've got everything in motion and things are going quite well. So that's where we stand right now.
Do we need a motion to authorize Nancy to take that computer home
Well, I kind of,
because of the computer policy?
well, do you want to go through all that now, or?
Oh, if you wanna wait, that's fine.
I kind of thought we should wait till we kind of make decisions what's actually gonna happen here. The board has to approve things, so
Okay.
maybe let's just move along at this point. Neil, can you report on the Nathan Latour?
Yeah,
Co-pays?
a couple of weeks ago now, almost a couple of weeks ago now, Brian Moe finally made it up to visit at the town hall, and Debbie and Betsy were nice enough to sit in on that. I was confused. Chris had given me some information that didn't gel with me, but, so Brian pointed out that there's still, I guess, a little confusion about how the employees use their high deductible healthcare policies. And there's a few ways, obviously, you can do this, but they can just pay a $5 copay for medicine, or they can put it on their health savings account. He suggested not to do that, to nibble that down when it really is something that would be better served to be more when you really needed it. He pointed out, and that's why I didn't go hard at Litar to ask questions, because I think he made it pretty plain that the deal that is currently being cut at the primary care for all the people who are covered by, souls that are covered by this, is one of the better ones he's seen, as far as $5 flat rate on meds. So I have made one small entreaty to Patrice for a meeting, but going at it a different way, almost in a thankful way, that, why have you're doing this, but why? And of course, when I was last with the town, it was an HMO type setup and not a high deductible, so it wasn't exactly the same. But I've still not seen any problem with it, but I thought that after I have this meeting down there, which I've had one canceled, not for coronavirus, and I have one on Wednesday that already has been canceled for coronavirus. So it's not easy to get in the hospital for anything but the real deal right now. And since Brian basically said, don't upset this water for now, I thought we'll continue that way, and I'll report back.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Next thing is the chamber contract. That's been signed, that's returned. We're all set with that, and I believe the end of March, they'll be sending their quarterly bill and their update of what they've been up to. Verizon contract. I'm hoping that it's gonna be done this week. The last concern they had was if our salt shed had asbestos or lead paint. Has none. Got back to the attorney on that and said, we need to move this along. We need to be done with this. So that's where we stand with the Verizon contract. Anybody for any questions on that?
I'll just say, wow.
I'm just saying, like, I'm tired of this. Anyway,
Are they
okay.
putting it on the salt shed?
Inside or out?
It's gonna be on the outside.
No, but they're thinking that maybe there's,
I have no clue. There's nothing inside or outside. So,
There's a lot of salt.
Yeah.
I guess the
Like in a
bigger
rust.
company you deal with, the more there's CYA, but that's really
Yeah.
remarkable.
okay, so the next thing is under new business. We're looking to pass a resolution for a new local law. It would be local law number 2. Whereas a town employee has been the victim of a serious medical condition, leaving our municipal offices short-staffed. Whereas the town board has determined that the unique experience of a former employee would be the proper person to fill this immediate position regardless of his or her current elected position. Be it resolved that willful knowledge of these duties and the general view as incompatible in the best interest of the town of Lake Pleasant, do so appoint the former employee effective March 13th, Friday, 2020, until further notice. So I'm looking.
I don't understand what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Okay,
So
can I, what, go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
As a preamble to this, in speaking about possibilities for filling this position short-term and then, maybe long, but short-term for sure, payroll needed to be done in a matter of 48 hours, et cetera. A couple of things popped up, and of course, mine went to Nancy, because Nancy has done this job with Plum for many years. But that came with a stumbling block, because if Nancy was to ask to do per diem for the town on that end, how would it affect her as a councilwoman? So Debbie put a call into the Association of Towns. One of their very sharp lawyers got back to us, and she was very quick to understand the conundrum and said, look, there is nothing on point that prohibits the town from having a council person, anyone on the board, from doing other contract work, but it is seen in most town circles as incompatible. That's her words, legal words. So if you want to have this person and it's in the best interests of the town, you do so by virtue of a local law. So in there, we might have missing a comma or something in there as we read it, but this is acknowledging the town board knows that these things can be seen as incompatible, but feel in the best interests of the town that this is the proper action for, at least for the short term. Once we knew that you could at least craft that, then supervisor got in touch with Nancy about possibly doing the work. So we threw some words together on a page in order to satisfy a local law requirement to have this hired.
So in this,
and backdated.
I just would love to see it in writing, you know.
this had to be, well, local law?
I think that's what she's saying.
This had to be done
Because I think
ASAP
there's
because
a
we had
fluctuation
payroll
for
and billing to be done today. So we scrambled Thursday and Friday, to get all the approvals and everything that we had to get set in motion. We've talked to Nancy, and Nancy has agreed to work like 1 day a week to fill in the gaps. She's going to work to finish the AUD for 2019 and get that off our plate. So we're really very fortunate that we have Nancy, and we appreciate that she's been willing to do this. So she was in the office today doing the payroll and doing all the billing. So it's kind of like neat to see Nancy sitting back there again, different. But so this is just temporary, till we know better what's gonna happen with Kathy, and then we'll go from there. But Nancy said she could work with us for a couple of payroll periods till we can get this all worked out and see how Kathy's doing and how soon she can get back.
And you made this generic because this could happen in other situations.
Yeah, so we didn't
that
wanna
it was
name Nancy's name, put Nancy's name in, or the actual position, because if we're gonna pass the local law, let's just do it generic so that we have it in our handbook in case we ever go through this again. It's easy to deal with. So that's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. So, I guess I'm looking for a motion.
Chris, you wanna, reread your punched up version?
Okay.
She's changing it.
Well, now I know why I was going, huh?
Right, well, we also needed that preamble, to make this work.
Yeah, okay, well, I just made a few small changes just to make it a little bit more clearer. Whereas a town employee has been the victim of a serious medical condition, leaving our municipal offices short-staffed, none of that has changed. And whereas the town board has determined that unique experience of a former employee makes her the proper person to fill this immediate position, regardless of his or her current elected position. Be it resolved that with full knowledge of these duties and the general view as incompatible, and I need to, the general view that this would normally be seen as incompatible?
That these positions may be seen as incompatible.
Okay, comma, it is in the best interest of the town of Lake Pleasant to so appoint the former employee effective Friday, March 13th until further notice. Is that okay, Neil?
Then you have a date on it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, maybe we leave that off.
Is it a resolution or a law?
We're passing a resolution in order to pass a local law. The resolution has to come first.
Yeah, this has to be advertised, right?
Yeah,
This will be local law number 2.
I move this as the resolution.
Okay,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Should I vote?
No,
No, you can't.
Accuse myself.
Okay,
okay, now,
okay.
now,
Any discussion? Any more discussion by anybody?
No, it's just that first her should be him, her.
Yeah, him, her.
him/her,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's-
Well, again, in the resolution, it may,
You do payroll
it may
next
not
month.
matter, but it would in the local law, which we'll have to abridge the dates out of there for a local law.
Okay, so,
And we have to set a date for public
He,
hearing.
she.
so Neil, you moved this
Moved-
resolution?
I moved the resolution,
Okay,
and I don't know if you got a second, you got?
Chris seconded.
okay, so, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed?
She's
I
gotta be-
recuse
She's gotta be
Recused
recused.
yourself, good girl. Okay, okay, so, there we have it. So that will be the resolution, and then we will have to follow the proper procedure to, actually,
Right, you gotta set a date, right?
Yeah.
so,
For a
You'll hear
portion,
from, yeah,
portion of your meeting to be a
Yes.
public hearing.
yeah. We'll have to, I've got to sit down with my time schedules and stuff like that.
okay, so that will be the next time, okay. So that's done, okay. So then next is, Bob Vankovich, our code enforcement officer.
Bankovich, Building Department. I just want to report on the codes conference that I was at from March 1st to the 5th up in Lake Placid. This is where we typically go to get our 24 hours of continuing education to maintain the codes position. New codes that New York is coming out with for 2020 will be take effect on May 12th. And there is not going to be a transition period like the last code. It's going to go right into the new code. So anything that comes into us after May 12th will all have to be on the new code. I don't know if anybody realizes, but New York is becoming very much more computer oriented as far as keeping records and stuff. Even all the new books that they're going to be sending us are going to be on a PDF and a 5-year license to the ICC Premium Access website. So we won't have any paper anymore. It's all going to be on the computer. To that end, I spoke with some representatives from Williams and Company, and I gave you some paperwork that they handed out at the conference. Basically what they do is they build a website with all our property addresses and you know, numbers and stuff like that. And what they do is all the information that we put into their system would spit out violations, building permits, and it all can be tracked by the state, so that the yearly things that we have to do for the state as far as record keeping and stuff like that are kind of done automatically on that system. In other words, they can access that system and find out what they need to find out. So we don't have to do tallies and sit down and, you know, add up numbers and answer all these questions. It's like a 40-page document that I have to go through every year for the state and, you know, answer a bunch of questions as far as what's been going on and things like that. So that's why I gave you what they do, and, you know, there's a bunch of pages there. Currently, the town of Arietta uses this system. They implemented it a couple of years ago. I talked to the code enforcement officer there. He kind of loves it, makes his job really easy as far as keeping the numbers and stuff, and you know, doing these reports for the state. So it's just something to think about. The representatives said they would be willing to come and sit down. They could do us and Speculator together. They could combine the system. So I don't know if that would be a help to anyone, but they'll certainly come and sit down and see what we want designed and give us a price. So that's just, I know it might not be in the budget right now, but it's something to think about because this is kind of the way the state's going.
Makes sense.
Yeah, some of the other things that, I don't know, maybe you want to think about at this time, especially the way things are going. I mean, we do have a lot of rentals in town, and we have no control over those rentals at all. You might want to think about some kind of a permitting system or something, just so we know what's out there. Are the buildings that people are renting safe? You know, are they up to code? I don't really care that they're making money. I mean, that's, you know, up to whoever's doing it, but I'm just worried about the public safety. I don't know if they have the proper smoke detectors. I don't know if they have the proper CO detectors, fire extinguishers, you know, anything like that. Other towns, it's become a big problem where people are renting through some of these sites, and you know, they rent to 20 college kids or something, and then they wind up with a problem. Who takes care of that? Do you have to call the local police out all the time, or should the property owner be the one to handle it first and then go to the police afterwards? So it's just something that probably needs to be looked at. I don't know if you wanna do it, you know, like on a permit system, a business license, charge, no charge, that's, you know, it's just something to look at. And
When you went to this class, Bob,
Yep.
has that been a big part of the discussions?
It's a huge,
What's
it's a
going
huge
on?
topic in the state right now,
Okay.
yeah.
And any ideas what's going on in other areas?
There's a number of towns that already have laws, a number of towns that have made laws. Warrensburg just implemented a law last year, they thought they had 4 rentals, they had 43.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was a big problem.
I think at the very least, they should be required to register their rentals with the town and allow Bob in to inspect it.
Just.
I don't like to discourage free enterprise.
No, I don't either,
But-
and like I said, it's just a safety inspection.
Exactly.
I mean, you know, let people know that you have a fire extinguisher, what to do in an emergency, something, that's all.
Are you talking about like Airbnbs?
Airbnbs,
Or is this
VRBO.
long-term?
This is mostly short-term.
It's short term. It depends on the law you adopt.
Right,
I've been
right.
reading these for the last 2 years,
Yeah,
and some of
it's-
them are really bad.
It's a really
Some of them
big,
are very bad.
Very
it's a really,
nitpicky.
really big deal in the state, and the
uh,
state is actually getting to the point where they're thinking about doing something about it.
Right, and I just point out, I've certainly raised this a few times, having been in the room rental business, that there was a certain unequal footing,
Right.
both from a competitive standpoint, but mostly from a safety standpoint.
Yep.
However, you listen to the news, there's more than a few towns that are,
Yeah.
it's become a tinderbox.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Particularly if you rush to one of these things and then have to defend a law that's got a lot of holes in it. It takes a lot of, I'd be interested to hear how far along the state was, because
Yeah.
if they're going to do something, it's not
Yeah.
necessary for us, but.
It's hard for the state to make a decision right now on this because of.
Politics?
No, not so much politics, believe it or not, it's because of the variety of towns that they have.
Yep.
Some towns are much larger than others. Sure. They have different, you know, rental requirements and,
They best leave
There's
it up to
also
the
sales
town.
tax revenue there too, that,
yeah, which we don't
Right.
have.
yeah.
Right, well, that's part of what I was getting at. If the state gets involved, it's at least as much about the money. Whereas some of the better ones that have been written are really more in line with what Chris is talking about. A simple, sometimes even free permit
Yep,
that basically gives your inspector an entree.
yeah, and that's like, it's the safety of the public that you're looking at.
Right.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bob. Appreciate it. Okay, the next thing is, the county county tourism had gotten a grant, towards the census. So what they decided to do is they had each town write their own letter for the census on their own letterhead. And the county actually typed the letters up. They're going to mail them. They're paying for everything through this grant. So each individual town and the town and the village kind of did this together, last minute. But the county plans on mailing the letter out this week. Don't know what's gonna happen with the census now with everything else going on. It's supposed to be starting pretty quick,
It
but,
started today.
was it today?
Yes,
Yeah.
online today.
Knocking on, oh, okay, online,
No,
okay.
Florence was out today, she's.
Knocking on doors?
Yeah.
Wow, they don't
boy.
let politicians knock on doors. We were cut off, done.
Well,
Why not
you're
do
not
it?
supposed to have contact with the public.
Yeah.
You put the thing on their door, knock on the door, and like
And run.
Halloween, where you run.
Okay, well, okay.
Light the bag on fire.
Okay, well, anyway, so that was done, it's a little something free to help push the people to, follow through and do the census to help us all out. So that was a big plus,
One more thing on that, if there's any bright side to the virus going around, it's people, when they answer the census, it's where they are at the time. And there are people coming up to isolate themselves from the city. You'll see New Jersey drivers around,
a
so
lot of our summer camps are
Driving on
already
numbers
opening.
now.
they get
And
counted.
they are, yeah. So.
But it's like toilet paper.
Okay, so next, I just wanted to mention the Consolidated Health District. I've been working with the Comptroller's Office to get working on that. We've been over the 2% tax cap for 2 years, for 2018 and 19. They say it's not a big deal, they've got us all registered in the system now, but today was just so crazy, I couldn't call and start working on that, with this coronavirus thing, so hopefully this week we'll be able to get that squared away and we'll be able to report that at the next meeting. I did want to, one thing we didn't cover with this whole state of emergency is our meal sites are closed, but they are willing to do home delivery for anyone that needs it, so if you know anyone that does, basically, if they call up to county nursing, they will get it to whoever needs to know, and they will get them on the schedule and start delivering meals to people's homes.
One thing on that, I was reading, and I forget where, but it said they were gonna do the meals 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And they will be delivering 2 meals, one for that day and one frozen for the next day.
Correct, yep, that's another part of it.
You do that,
Yep.
right?
So,
Excuse me?
county nursing
You do
has
that,
right?
that
Yeah.
actual schedule
He
and
may have read it
exactly what
someplace
they're
else,
doing
but.
on that. Is there any committee reports? Youth rec, website, Facebook?
Facebook, I've been just
Website.
trying to put information on as I see it online, and, you know, it is a place where at least we can get some information out.
Yep, okay.
Finally, a good reason to have Facebook.
Chris, you have anything,
No, I don't, thank you.
Nope.
No, okay. Okay, so next we need a motion to pay the bills.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No,
I
okay.
have to recuse myself because I typed them.
No, I don't think you do on that.
I don't have to on that,
No.
okay.
Because you don't stand to earn any money from it.
Okay. Next is public comment. Anybody else have public comment? Jeanette?
It's me again. Just a quick comment about the resolution for the law, just asking if the county perhaps could have a shared service for that, or at least contract them. It might be something that's readily doable, just as an alternative without passing a law.
Well, we're going into executive session to discuss that kind of stuff. We've met with the county.
Right.
Thank you very much for that, though. Anybody else?
Well, it's not a comment, but I wondered if Nancy, when you're doing the website, if you would share the library information on the town website as well as Sherry when she does it on the library one? The information that I had given earlier, which, you know.
Oh, that
Facebook.
information, okay.
Yes, when you're doing.
Which I think she probably means both.
You're
Yeah.
doing the town or the Facebook?
I'm doing Facebook.
Could you share that information on that Facebook site as well? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Chris does the website and Nancy's doing the Facebook, so we do
Chris,
the
could you
both.
share that on the website as well? Thank you.
You're
Both.
welcome.
Pick them off.
Okay, so no other public comment? No, okay, round table?
I have something.
Okay.
The fire department, Lake Pleasant Fire Department bought 2 generators, with the monies that our generous, residents paid for the pancake breakfast.
Nice.
And it's gonna be used for critical needs for emergencies, like when we lost power, when was that? February, I guess. You know, for a few days in the area, and they took a picture of I'll put that on Facebook also.
So,
Nice.
but they have generators, these are the portables, they're willing to.
They're portable, that
To-
they're
to
willing
lend
to
out the
help,
way they
yeah,
did
yeah.
during the power.
When we had that emergency, they actually had to take a generator off of their fire truck.
Right.
And they had it placed at someone's house, and their concern was if there was an emergency, there was no generator on their truck. And that was very concerning to them, so therefore they decided that this was the way to go. So that they had
And I-
spares on
I
hand.
think a
Have
couple
their
of the
Yep.
firemen
Yeah.
lent out.
Right, from their own
Yes.
homes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Right, in order to help, so this should help out if, hopefully not,
Nice.
we're hoping it's not needed, but
Yeah.
they're here to
always is.
help people with critical needs.
Okay, Chris, anything?
Just wanted to mention that I've written a petition to send to DOT. I hope to get hundreds of signatures on it. It's on the
Is it up there still?
podium,
Right up here.
and I ask everybody here to please sign it. And tomorrow it's
Post
going to
office?
Charlie John's. It's gonna be on the table by the entrance.
Nice. Nice.
Those people from New Jersey can sign.
Anybody can sign it.
I will,
That's why I had my nephew sign it, because he lives in Walden. I figured, well, that tells people.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, out of towners will
It's
be
state
noticed,
road.
they'll
He'll
be
be
noticed
noticed
under,
more than we
absolutely.
will, yeah.
Right.
So, of course, everybody's
Not
avoiding the
just-
stores.
Yeah, exactly, but since Shorty's not here, I'll give you the kudos for having
Okay.
done that, 'cause it's
Thank you, Neil.
certainly,
You'll make his day.
it's one of his bailiwicks. I just, I
Self-quarantine?
guess I was remiss last week, I don't know if we have, but if we haven't, I think we should send something to Kathy from the town.
We had discussed it,
We can do it
From
like
the
we've done
town?
before, well,
okay,
many times before, in my time here, we chipped in ourselves. But I know we've been keeping in touch with her, and she, just, for those who don't know, Kathy, our town clerk, and her husband were in a terrible motorcycle accident. I hope they also have a good lawyer. So
While we
get
were-
that-
okay, so then we're gonna just make it from the town. Okay,
And while we were here, I got a text from her, so she's still doing that. That's asked me if everything came back, like I never left, she said. I said, no. Bit rusty.
done.
I'm good.
Good. Okay, so at this time, we're going to move into public comment. No.
Or
That wasn't supposed to be.
I assume we got a BTI applicator?
We did not get a BTI applicator, so we were just got the same three, and they're just gonna have to cover more ground. They
Okay.
tried as well.
Yeah.
Nobody responded to our ads. Nobody. No,
$18 an hour.
$18 an hour. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, they're three experienced applicators, and they will cover a lot of ground.
Yeah.
It's just discouraging that you can't get help.
Chris is remarkable.
So that's it. We're going to move into executive session. I thank everybody for
I move
coming.
that we go into executive session to discuss
Teaching me.
specific personnel matter.
Okay, and second by,
I'll second.
Go ahead, Donna.
okay.
I'll second.
I'm not sure that this is.
So now I say thank you for
executive
coming.
session.
Is it?
Well,
said I'm not
it was
sure
her-
that-
Her request was, if it's about.
This is
It's an employee matter.
the specific work history of a certain employee?
Sure.
I mean, employer.
Both.
Okay.
I think
How's
this,
that?
I think this clearly covers it.
That request has been put in. Yes, that request has been, that request.
I mean, I was only briefly talked to her.
Yeah, that was
Right now,
We've been taking money for it.
I think I'm signing the petition. I printed and then I
You were
signed.
ready, right, yeah.
signing a petition.
It's petition
I was
season.
signing
I'm so glad it's
I
over.
was signing petition
It's
today.
petition season.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I
I
know.
just have to let you know that.
Sammy, do you want contact information for Janet Fabian?
That part is
No,
not
I
part
will
of
look
an
into
executive
it,
session.
if not, I'll call up there and I'll get some more information on this.
We did explore.
And I put it up on, I'll talk here, but I put it up on,
Okay, well, she might not be the only former educator that is willing to watch somebody's kid.